Greetings everyone, this is Daniel. It's gonna be a fun night in the kingdom. A pinch of silliness, a dab of goofy, all going on in the dungeon. You see, I'm a still life painter, a visual storyteller, and I have an imaginary kingdom. No fooling.
Show enough.
Here are some examples of my work. I set these scenes up in front of me and paint from life, without use of photography or mechanical assistance.
Right on.
In fact, I begin with no preliminary drawing at all. I simply begin drawing in paint. I develop the paintings in large part by means of what I call stipple glazing.
That's right.
This approach makes for a relatively long, slow production process. I hope you will find the effort worthwhile. This video demonstrates one specific example of my setup process. But hold on, before we get to that,
Whoa, Nelly.
this example requires a little bit of backstory. We're headed back to 1989, long before I was a still life specialist. I was in grad school at East Carolina University. I was renting a horrible, ratty trailer in Greenville.
You poor thing.
And like a beautiful orchid growing out of a turd, I found delightful visual interest double reflected in my ratty window. These two paintings are the result of that. I began concentrating on still life in around 2006, always intending to revisit this visual idea. With the following setup, 36 years later, I do exactly that.
Oh, yeah.
We're looking for what is special. Firstly, I was thinking about doing a fruit bowl, but I ate all the fruit in my fruit bowl, so there won't be a fruit bowl.
No fruit bowl.
Secondly, I gotta get my subconscious flow flowing.
Subconscious flow. Find what is special.
Now, what's not shown here is the construction of this window.
Thank goodness.
It, of course, is an independent window that I purchased, but to achieve the double reflections, I had to double the glass behind it and then black out everything behind it in order to replicate a nighttime scene.
Well, that's just fascinating.
This is the first attempt, as I said, to recreate what I did years ago. But it won't be the last time I utilize double reflecting windows, because much like my so-called Luminous Shadows, it offers such visual interest manifested in physical reality. I'll be returning to this again. Like my Luminous Shadows and, say, Origami Dragons, this is something I developed in isolation.
My goodness.
I certainly wouldn't claim to have invented this, but I don't see other still life artists utilizing this, and I found it on my own, and in that sense it's mine. Another tool in my toolbox of artistic ideas. And, well, you just can't have too many of those.
I can dig it.
On a similar note, I intend to set up a still life where the, quote, floor is made of glass, illuminated from below. We're going to get close to that in this setup with that coffee can.
That's right.
You'll see what I mean. I found this doll in a flea market
Oh, you sweet thing.
and instantly knew I was going to shove a crayon up her nose.
You go too far.
It's just the kind of guy I am. She was labeled as a booger doll, which I'd never heard of, so I suppose she was intended to be sporting some sort of a booger.
Not very ladylike.
But where's all this going?
I'm glad you asked.
This all started with the idea of kids having show and tell day at school, demonstrating what they learned over the summer.
Right on.
Then I took it to a more private affair. After class was over, a secret showing among friends in the cloakroom.
Why not?
The other thing I learned over the summer. And here's that lit from below effect I spoke of earlier. Everything I am doing is intended to serve a painting. It's all in pursuit of visual drama. As a matter of fact, as this developed, I became mindful of John Singer Sargent's Lady Macbeth.
What? Crazy talk.
A painting that is dripping with both psychological and visual drama. I mention this just in case everyone didn't see the painfully obvious parallels.
That sounds about right.
The overall scene is dim to accentuate the floodlight spotlight effect. There must be no doubt who the star of this painting is.
I heard that.
Over the years, I've become very fond of utilizing these little wooden Polish dolls in my still lifes. And what power I wield! I get to decide who her friends are. Before I even started this setup, I envisioned these friends backlit, mostly silhouetted.
There's no noise for that.
At every step along the way, I'm doing my very best to envision the painting, to see the finished artwork.
I can dig it, you can dig it, we can dig it, they can dig it.
I apologize, but I've always wanted to do that. This is absolutely the visual drama I'm after. But after consideration, I've decided not to utilize the plate glass as a shelf and to cut a piece to fit inside the rim of the coffee can.
Okay then.
So we are down in the dungeon's dungeon. This is my workshop. Who knows what all we'll find down here?
Cool stuff.
No, not an 8-track tape of Engelbert Humperdinck. This might be a good time to mention that you don't have to settle for just what you have. If you need something and it doesn't exist, bring it into existence. Then, after you do, you can utilize it for your purposes, for the greater good of mankind, achieving lofty, noble levels of art. Or you could just do what everyone else is doing and be boring. It's up to you. Or you could do nothing at all. Not me. I'm down here in the dungeon's dungeon, getting it on for the people. Actually, I do what I do to satisfy something internal. It's a sort of mysterious compulsion that I cannot completely explain. But my theory is, if I do something worthwhile, some of you will come along with me. I know so many artists feel unappreciated and ignored. My take is to challenge myself to do something so great it can't be ignored. I don't know to what degree I'll ever get there, but that is my self-imposed mission. And if I can be a positive influence on others along the way, well, that would give me great satisfaction. Well, it certainly beats being some sort of dastardly knucklehead. It's difficult to read with this light, but I've decided to move that dragon from her feet down to the floor, as well as a couple of crayons. And here we have it. The title of the painting to be The Slumber Party. A female friend suggested this title, which took the setting out of a schoolhouse and into a home. Point being, don't be inflexible. Now, circling back to the original idea of the double reflected windows, we now have an incredible metaphor for the friends' minds being blown. But was it worth waiting 36 years? Yes!
Yes,
I think it was.
it really was.
On behalf of these kooky kids and myself, I want to thank you so much for viewing and for visiting the deep depths of my deepness.